Hey there, welcome along to Guitar Hours number 6. In today's Guitar Hours, I'm going to bring you through some open chord drills, open chord ideas, and open chord exercises for you to play clearer open chords, play faster chord switches, and also generally take a look at the most common chord progressions that fit between everything that you might be doing. So what we'll do is we'll get it into this mode and we are live. So basically, what we're looking at today is the following. We're taking a look at our guitar chords, and because we're looking at guitar chords, what we're going to find out today is some guitar chord exercises that are going to help you play clearer chords and get more in depth with them. And remember, this is being recorded on my end, so for anybody joining, you're very welcome. And basically, what we're going to take a look at for the next 30 to 40 minutes here is a massive layout of the most common chords and chord progressions that you can drill. So no matter what song comes up, you're going to have something you'll be able to do. Now, I'll just double check that everyone's muted. Deli, alrighty. So let's get into it. So the first thing I'm going to cover is the concept of keys. When we're taking a look at keys, we have a few different options. Now, if you've been playing for around a year or less, well, this might be a slightly new concept. So you get your keys, and what happens is we have the key of A that contains A, D, and E, and I'm going to simplify this for now. We have the key of C, we have the key of D that contains D, G, and A, we have the key of E that contains E, A, and B7, we have the key of G that contains G, C, and D. Now, those are the main ones we're going to start with. Here's why. Generally, when it comes to guitar chords, there's like so many chords in each key. For an example, in the key of A, with my guitar, if I do this, and there's 7 chords in a key, really. But for this concept and for this idea, for everything you're going to learn today to apply to your songs, basically we're going to pick the 3 major chords. So that's why when I say in the key of A there we have A, D, and E. Okay, used in famous songs like that. But I'm going to start off with A, D, and E here because they're like 3 easy chords to understand and you can apply the things a lot faster to them. So we'll start off with this one. And remember, for anybody who's joined, if you want to type a question into the chat, I'll be checking it periodically as time goes on and I'll address the questions as well. So we got the key of A, we got the key of C, D, E, and finally G. There are more, and there are more chords, but when you learn these principles and learn this system, this can be applied for any type of chord you're looking for. All right, so here's the thing. Each of these chords is given a unique identifier. 1, 4, and 5. So what that means is when I play in the key of A, chord 1 in the key of A is A. You'll always notice the chord 1 is the same name as the key. Chord 4 in this case, because we're only dealing with A right now, is D. Chord 5 is E. Now, long before we had apps and we had online stuff, basically what you used to have to do is you'd take your open chords and just figure out all the chord changes yourself. But it's only when I was taught music theory that I suddenly realized you could take this out and put it into a system. So we'll take this one here. Taking the key of A. Here are some of the most common chord changes you can work on in the key of A that are the most useful when it comes to your songs. That's one. So you could strum 4 A's, 4 D's, 4 E's, 4 A. That's another one, A, E, D, E. The other one is D, E, A, E. Now, I'll play those on guitar a second, so we get, that's the first one. Okay, so that's what we get. The second one goes, I halved that one in time, but you hear it sounds fairly melodic. The third one, okay, and finally the last one, I'm gonna go A, D, A, E. Okay, so we have a good few there for starting off. And do you know what I'll do actually? I'm going to swap one of these here. Okay. There we go. Alrighty, so basically with all these, it was something similar to that I learned starting out. So somebody once said to me one day, they said, you know, like, yeah, you're fast at this Oasis song, but like when you play your chords, you're not so fast in other songs. And the understanding I took from that was I need to learn more songs to get faster at my chords. But suddenly then I realized when I looked at it that I could just take the chords and find the most common changes. When it comes to only 3 selections, you'll notice here we managed to go from A to D. We managed to go from A to E. We managed to go from E to D. And we also managed to go from E to A. Every possible combination is covered in these 4 progressions. So that was cool. I got really excited when I was younger and I said, this is great, I got all these. And then I sat down and I realized I was slow at things in the key of G. And then I had to suddenly look at the chart and go, how do I rearrange all these in the key of G? And that's where the number system comes in. So let's put numbers above these, and you'll notice that when I do that, when you do the next one, it's going to become paint by numbers. So we have 1, 4, 5, 1, 1, 5, 4, 5, 4, 1, 5, 1, and 1, 4, 1, 5. I'm getting those numbers from each of the chords across. So what does this mean? Well, it means that if you're looking at your chords here, your G, your C, and your D, and if you say to yourself, I'm pretty fast now, things are going good here with my A, D, and E chords, but when it comes to the key of G, some stuff still trips me up, and I'm not sure what it is. The advantage of the chord progressions here in drilling these in this system is that you remove the lyrics, you remove the strum patterns, you remove all the different other chord stuff going on, you remove everything, right? You're only focusing on chords, and you're only focusing on the switches and the progression. So that's why this can be a good approach to playing different chords. So that's the thing. So for example, then you could just take this out and you can basically apply the system yourself. So you have 1, 4, 5, 1, 1, 5, 4, 5. And if anybody is watching this right now, or if you are watching this replay, remember it's all searchable, and also that the download of this will be inside the video platform. So You don't need to take notes if you don't want. This exact sheet will be in there for you. So, to keep on going, let's take a look. Let's do this here. Second. There we go. Okay, so to keep this going, we'll take a quick look through. Yeah, perfect. If you were to do the key of C, check in with yourself. If you were to do the key of C, what would you choose here? What chords would you play in the key of C? If you said C, F, G, C, you are correct. Right? So, good job. Now, and if you didn't, it's okay. We'll have more chances again. This iPad pen is about to go. There we go. So, that's a small bit so far on those chords and how to map them in. So this means that any open chord progressions that you have, you can suddenly drop them into this number system and drill the main changes. And they all play well-known songs. Like if I take the ones that are on screen, I'll do this here. The ones that are on screen. The second line, the A, E, D, E, that's You Ain't Seen Nothing Yet. It goes, you ain't seen nothing yet. Baby, you ain't seen nothing just yet. Same changes. The top one's Wild Thing. A. Ah, sorry, my bad. That's a different one. Okay, it's close. Right, and then you have this. The bottom one is Me and Julio Down by the Schoolyard. The A, D, A, E turns into this. Sorry, turns into this. So you get the idea. By working on the progressions, by working on the changes, it sets you up for songs. And that's why sometimes when players start new songs, they go, it just feels easy because you know the chord changes and you got the progressions. Right, so the next thing is I'm going to grab a quick drink of my coffee. But if you want to have a quick look through these for yourself a sec. Okay, so that's the beginning of our chord changes. Now, the next thing is as follows. We're going to take a look at finding shortcuts between these chords. Because I know that you could be looking at this going, that's all well and good, Dave, but I have problems with some of these chords. I get it. Here's the thing. We're going to take a quick look at a particular progression. I am going to pick the key of C because it's the F chord. Okay? So, I'll take a look at the key of C. In the key of C, the thing is finding shortcuts and unfair advantages. Okay. Now, for this example, for this section, you may need a guitar on you to do this, or you could do it by looking at chord diagrams if you're more visually natured. So let's take a look. So in the key of C, I'm going to draw out the chord diagrams. I'll zoom it in. Okay, we got 1. We got 2. Right, so what I'm going to do here is, because I did have a chord book when I started guitar, and the chord book helped me look at the relationship between different positions. So we got our C chord, we got our F chord, and for the purpose of this demonstration I'm going to use the easy F. You might be looking at it going, there's nothing easy about F. What are you talking about? But it's the easiest of the Fs, unfortunately. Right. So we got our C and our F. Now, looking at the diagrams on screen, I'd like you to have a think about what you're seeing and how similar both of these patterns are. And take a minute to see, is there any finger or fingers that could wait in the same place for each? And you've probably noticed that this one, this one, this one, and this one, they get to wait in the same place. That it's a small thing, and when it's presented front and center stage to you on a diagram, it can be easy to go, of course, but it might have happened to you already, or you'll have perhaps seen it happen other players, that when you're playing something, you could suddenly go, ah yeah, geez, didn't realize that finger doesn't have to move, you know? So to think about your chords that are in chord sequences and ask yourself two questions. One, you're checking for anchor fingers. Anchor fingers are fingers that get to anchor down and wait in the same place. And the second thing is smart moves. Okay, so in this case here, you see we have two anchor fingers, one that can wait for C, one that can wait for F. And in terms of smart moves, we have two things we can watch out for. We can watch out for fingers that move parallel. Sorry. Or synced moves. Let me explain. So, when it comes down to your C and your F chord, this one and this one can wait. A parallel type move would be your middle finger gets to move down a string. So that's quick. And then your pinky goes underneath. So you C, down, pinky goes underneath. You know? So the thing is, looking for those little moves can make all the difference moving between two chords swiftly enough. The other thing about it then, I was saying synchronized moves. Here's an example. If I take, yeah, that's pretty good. So if I take this one here and I want to put on my C chord, you'll notice that those two act in a step. They go on together. So I'm on C. Okay, so you're synchronizing the movement of two fingers at once to land at the same time. So between the parallel moves and the synchronized moves, it shortens your chord change time. Now, so that's a way to find shortcuts, and of course you can do this with all the chords. For anybody who's been through the 5-day Learn to Play challenge, you'll have noticed, oh, somebody has to go, see you very soon. Thanks for the message. And the replay will be in the platform. Okay. So the next thing then is we got the A, D, and D, and what we're looking at is the following. We got the move going between all three, and because of that, you'll notice that you got the same anchor fingers in the same places for some of these. So I talked about this in the 5-day course, but the important thing here is it goes back to that saying of, you know, teach person to fish, bring them fishing, they catch fish, teach them how to fish, they'll feed themselves for a lifetime. That sort of setup. When you know the underlying structure and underlying methodology, you can go at this with any chord shape, with bar chords, open chords, power chords, you name it, you can go at it. Now, so that's the key is C, and those were our chord movements. I'm just going to move these over here. Okay, perfect. Right, so we had our finding shortcuts and unfair advantages, and those are two ways to do it. And you don't need to write out the chord diagram. You can if you want. It's not absolutely essential either. Now, here's the thing. So you got your chord progressions here. Okay. Now, of course, we know that the two things that can absolutely derail our chord progressions are what? Unclear chords and slow chord switches. So to take a minute to look at each of these chord progressions. Clear chords, chord switches. If for any reason you're playing and you're putting in time doing this, and let's say one of your chords is not coming out clearly, that's a sure sign. If it keeps happening, do your clear chord check on it. Set a timer for like a 1 minute timer. And then your chord switches, same thing. You know what, the chord switches can go a bit longer, 2 to 3 minutes. Okay, so that will help speed up that chord switch. Then you go back onto the training pitch and you get at the chord switches. Okay, now those are a few things to watch around your chord progressions. And the thing about this is, this can be used for like any group of chords. And you can even use it for like 3 chords that don't belong in a key. Because the reality is, not every song out there adheres to the same song structure. There'll be a few different bits to watch out for, like with the three separate chords. Okay, so we got that on the go. Now, the next thing is as follows. So we got the 2 things to watch, our chord progressions, just double checking. Are we missing anything? You'll notice there I have B7 written in. It's because B is a killer open chord. It's close to an absolute nightmare for somebody starting out to get, and it really belongs with the bar chord family instead of the open chord family. In terms of chord progressions that are easier, you'll find A a lot easier, you'll find D easier, G easier. B7, bit of a problemo sometimes because the pinky's been worked, but F here would be the major crux, so the key is C would be one to watch. Okay, so for the next section of our call, I'm going to get into a bit about chord transitions. Or chord key changes, okay? Uses of a capo. Right. What do you do if you really have a distaste for learning the C, F, and G chords in a group and you find a song that uses them? Well, back in the day, you had to kind of suck it up and just learn it. Nowadays you have options. So in this part of the call, I'm going to talk about transposing difficult keys. Okay, so let's take a note of this. So for transposing difficult keys, the 2 things we got to watch out for. I'm going to pull up a song in a sec. I'll get it here now. So for anybody out there who uses Ultimate Guitar, it is my go-to. I'm going to pick a nice, easy song to do this with. Okay, I'm going to pick All I Want Is You by U2. Screen share. There we go. So, now, let's take a look at this. So, we've 3 chords. A, D, and F sharp minor, which you might be looking at going, wait, what? But, let's go back to our iPad and let's look. We're in the key of A here, okay? Just take my word for now. Key of A. We have A and D a lot. F sharp minor is a serious problem. And it's such a, like, you know, there's no minor chords written in this. But if you take a look at your Ultimate Guitar down at the bottom here, you see there's a transpose button. What the transpose function does is you can hit a -1 or a +1 and it's going to change the chords that appear on screen for you to play the song. The good news about that is it's giving you options. The slightly bad news is it can look really confusing in the beginning, but I have a simple little fix. So I hit transpose. I used to do this in my head years ago. I hit -1. It's gotten worse looking. You'll see that. It's like, what is going on here? I'll hit it again. Okay, how does that look? Does that look a bit better? I'd imagine it does. So I hit the transpose button twice. And it's changed it now to contain a G, a C, and an E minor chord. If I put it back, you notice we had our A, D, and F sharp minor chord. Much more manageable. Now, here's the thing looking at it. I'll do a quick play of it in the original, and you'll notice yourself that it's not until the chorus that F sharp minor poses a problem. Do you see the way, like, it's A to D in the verse? So we'll compare all these. Okay, so we'll start with A and D. I'll go, you say you want diamonds on a ring of gold. See what I mean? So you see it goes back and over between A and D pretty handily. Now the other two chords that popped up there were G and C. It's going to sound lower, but take a listen. You say you want diamonds on a ring of gold. You'll notice that time that it sounded a lot lower, but the overall chord movements were still similar. So whether we're going between A and D or G and C. And sometimes that confuses players beginning. They're like, how come there's two different chords but the overall sound is the same? Well, if we take it back into our theory, and here's a quick little tip, right? Generally, in general, not all the time, the first chord of a song is generally the key it's in. So if the first chord of a song is A, generally the key of the song is A. It's not always the case. Two very famous examples are Sweet Child of Mine and Sweet Home Alabama. Both start on the D chord, but they're not in the key of D. But in this case, For All I Want Is You, we have the chords going like this. Just give me a sec here now. Okay, perfect. Right. So we'd A, D, we'd A, we'd D. Okay, so now that was the original. Then I hit -2 on the transpose and it turned it into G, C, G, C. Okay, the key thing there is the -2. Had to be done. All right, now if we look at our chord numbers up here, what number is the A chord in the key of A? You'll notice that it's 1. What number is D? It's 4. So we're in the key of A, we're doing chord 1 to chord 4, chord 1 to chord 4. Look at this one, G, C, G, C. We're in the key of G, we're doing chord 1 to chord 4. So the reason that even though they were different chords and they sounded different, but the overall feeling was generally the same and it still sounded like the song, it's because of the number of the chord that was chosen. It was chord 1 going to chord 4. So the micro lesson in that is, whatever song you're doing on guitar, when you look at the numbers of what the chords are and you know a different key, you can suddenly decide to play it in a different set of chords and it will still sound like the song. Why in the name of the guitar gods would you want to do that? Well, one reason is I was playing a long time ago at a sing-along, and man, most of the stories I share are of like when I started out, because that's where a lot of this stuff is applicable. I was playing at a pub session. I think I was 16, 17 or something. And we were allowed in the pub, in case anybody's wondering. But basically, we were playing, and what happened was I knew how to play a certain song, and I only knew it in the original key, in the original chords. So for the purpose of the story, I'm going to convert the song into All I Want Is You. So let's say if it was All I Want Is You, I only knew it going from A to D, like this. Very pleased with myself, building the song collection. Next thing, somebody came up and they said, oh, I want to sing a U2 song. And then they said, All I Want Is You. And what happened was, I was like, class, okay, I know this one, great. So I started hitting into it. And I was so young, and they started singing, and man, there was a mismatch. All of a sudden I was like, why does this sound so wrong? What's going on with my chords? And I hadn't realised the singer came up and just started singing it. And if they sang higher and they went, you say you want diamonds, a ring of gold, you say you want, there was a mismatch. So what happened was, there was a mad scramble on to try and figure out what chords match what this person is singing. And you may find this if you're playing at a party or you're playing at a sing-along and somebody says, they suddenly speak up and say, oh, I'll sing a song. If you let them start it themselves first, 99% of the time, your chords mightn't match it. You've got to take control of the intro, set the intro, maybe even sing a small bit so the person gets where you want them to sing it. Because it's a whole other thing to get into random people coming up and suddenly trying to match all they're singing. So, all that to say, it was at that stage that I realised that I had to build the ability to be able to play chord progressions in loads of different keys. And I know I said a minute ago about, well, it's a skill set in itself to like just match whoever comes up and whoever sings whatever. But you can still give yourself a great degree of comfort, freedom, and success by being able to memorize these and being able to play 3-chord songs in any of the keys. So what happened after that was, I was like, I didn't even know how to begin, like just following people and playing with them. My music teacher could do it and I'd watch how she did it. But what I did decide to do is get really good at being able to play the same song in different ways. So if somebody came up and I went, do you know this one? And I go, you say you want, and they go, I do, yeah, but I sing it way different. You say you want. All of a sudden, I could be like, okay, so you say lower. So I'd pick a different set of chords and try it and give it to them. So now it's 7 things to choose from. And this is what I'd suggest for you if you want a bit of fun. And it's more of the, once you get through the chord progressions and through the drills and through the getting them clear, getting them fast, it's a nice musical exercise and a class skill set you can add into your playing to be able to just jump into different keys. So, down to here again, right? So, we'll call this section, all I want to do is transpose. So the next thing we got to look at is, we were saying big general overview. So we had the original, we had the transposed, and you can do this on ultimate guitar. You can also do it by ear sometimes, but that's more comes after the theory, and do it by numbers. Those are your 3 ways. Now, the next thing is looking, oh, sorry, bit of an 80s video thing there. Okay, the next thing is looking through this. You'll notice that when we change it, some of them are terrible. Like that's dodge, dodge. Not too bad, you know. And we'll base this on the verse, okay? Because the thing to remember is, this works best on 3 chord tricks. That's a song with 3 chords in it, okay? Just remember that. Because when you lessen the chord count, it gives you more permission to get to work on how to apply the system. So, the next thing is, we got our chorus, and you can have fun on ultimate guitar, like you can flip through all these. And by the way, like if it's a 4 chord song, you could be looking through going, well, you know, D to G, that's fine. B minor 7 will work there, you know, and that unlocks the whole song. So there's all these, but at the end of the day, I'll bring it back to the reason I wrote these keys down today at the beginning, and the reason those are the ones to go for, is they contain the friendliest open chords. These are all the best ones to pick when you're playing around with open chords, because you want your focus to be on all the learnings, all the stuff, rather than be bogged down in, God, how do I even play that chord, or what chord, you know. Start with a solid base and add everything else in on top. Okay, and remember, if you're viewing this in the future, and if you have any questions and you're a member of our community, please hop in and ask. Happy to clarify, because these guitar hours will happen every week, and I'll be able to address different questions as the weeks go on. Okay, we are going good. Right, now just a few more bits before we wrap up. Okay, so the next thing I want to get into is what to do with minor chords. So this system also works with minor chords, and I'm going to write out a few for you here. We'll have a lot less to do. So basically you can start with A minor. You could go to D minor, E minor, A minor. And sorry, there's a bit of rattling going on there in the background, I know. Right, A minor, D minor, E minor, A minor. Okay, then you could do D minor, you could do A minor, you could do E minor, A minor. And let's take a listen to these. So you'll have a nice sound. You'll get... Next one. That sounds familiar. Okay, and then we could also get... Now we'll leave the B minor 7 out for now, right? So that's a minor chord progression that you can use. Again, why is there so little minor ones and not going to so many major ones? It's because today we're covering open chord progressions, and in terms of open chords, you have A minor, E minor, D minor, B minor 7. That's kind of it. Everything else, it starts to get into bar chord territory, which will be another video. So those are some of your minor ones. The last thing I want to add in about these is the following, okay? It works with any rhythm. Okay. I'm going to leave that on screen for a sec, and I'm going to pick, I like the fourth one. Okay, so on the fourth one, what I'm going to do here is I'm basically going to look at multiple rhythms on the same chord progression. Okay, so we'll start off nice and plain. Sorry. Right, so you notice there that it's like just going back and over. And that turns into that famous song, Me and Julio. I could do a longer type of rhythm. I could go. Now chord 4. So I'm on the last line here now. You see, it's a nice long song. We could also half the length go. Get the picture? So, you can take any chord progression and apply any rhythm to it. The only small thing I'd add in is it's similar to the principle of pick things you're familiar with. Pick strum patterns you're familiar with. If you pick strum patterns that you're going to find really tricky, and then you got the chord progression, you've a bit of work to do on that. Both, when you've a bit of work to do on two elements, it's basically going to half the ability of both elements. So really pick a rhythm that you find nice and simple to start with. If you have your eye on a rhythm that you'd like to add in to, and we will do a guitar hour on rhythms as well soon. If you do have a rhythm you want to add in, you know the drill. Take it slow, get the beat, work the metronome, steady, break it down, build it up, speed it up. You just start with all those and then put it into some things. Now, a final summary, right? So there's a good lot of different stuff gone through today. So let's take a look. So to summarize everything today, we really hit into open chord exercises because we said that songs get you so far and songs are brilliant. But if you're looking for like stuff to drill and stuff that will unlock more songs faster, then looking at open chord progressions can really help. Instead of this page featuring like 5 different keys, 5 different keys with 4 different lines, that would have been 20 lines of guitar chords that I could have filled this page with. But we figured out a better system. And we will get more in depth on why they're this number, but we said that in all these, in any key, chord 1 is here, chord 4 is here, chord 5 is here. Then I wrote out these sequences, 1, 4, 5, 1, etc. Wrote them out in the key of A, so you want to base it off. But then if you want to do the key of D, you can just drop in the numbers, paint by numbers. So you'd have D, you'd have G, you would have A there, and then you go back to D, and so on. So with that, then we said that sometimes if you're having difficulties with the chord progressions, there's 2 things to find in shortcuts and unfair advantages. The first thing is you could go by diagram and look where the dots are similar. Those are your anchor fingers. But then there's smart moves. That one goes to there. It was here, now it's there. And synced up moves, moving more than 2 fingers at a time, or 2 or more fingers at a time. With the chord progressions, you had your clear chords. If there's any problems, so take that out for a minute, you know how to do that. And then your chord switches that you spend 2 to 3 minutes like drilling a change. So if you're having problems, let's imagine, you're having serious problems going from E to D. Well, if you practice your A to your E and then you get to here, well, you've done all this, but you still haven't practiced the bit that needs it. So to drill the chord change and then go back to the chord progression. Then we took a real case study of it. All I want to do is transpose. Calling it that because I don't want you two calling me. So basically, we got our chords that are in the song A, D, and those are the original chords. Transposing is when you change the chords in a song. You change the key. We hit -2, or we hit -1 twice. It changed the chords to G, C, G, C. It still sounded the same because it sounded roughly the same because there were still the same numbers. 1, 4, 1, 4. 3 ways to transpose. You have ultimate guitar. You can do it by ear. Like I have seen players just by ear go da 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 da, just suddenly play the chords in a different key. That does exist. You can also do it by numbers. Some players would take a song and go, okay, so I'm playing these chords. Excuse me. How do I change the key? Finally, then we're saying it works best with three chord tricks because there's only 3 different chords. So that means you can execute 4 different combinations on the 3 chords. Every time we add an extra chord, like here if we add an F sharp minor, the main problem is that's including bar chords into your progressions, which will really affect your open chord progression in the beginning. And finally then, if you want to do with minor chords, those are your chords. There's only 3 minor chords, so there's a lot less of them. Alrighty, so thanks so much for watching, thanks so much for tuning in, and thanks for those of you who attended live as well. Remember, keep the questions coming. I'm happy to answer any questions, and there'll be another guitar hour next week again. In the meantime, have a great week, and I'll see you in the community.